Welcome to the show, everybody. So right now, everybody is waiting on the Supreme Court. We got a lot of decisions that we're waiting on, different cases that are going to shape the future of this nation for years to come. Everything from federal power to questions like birthright citizenship are on the line. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. The elite legal community in this country is small, it's tight-knit, it's connected. The same law firms, the same power players, the same networks circling around the highest court in the land like vultures who want political outcomes and not justice. So when a report comes out, like the 2023 Forbes report, that the wife of Chief Justice John Roberts made over $10 million placing top lawyers in law firms, including, law firms with business before the Supreme Court, law firms that were arguing in front of the Supreme Court, we can say that that is not nothing. That is not some sort of random coincidence. That's a direct overlap between the financial interests of the Chief Justice's household and the professional ecosystem that feeds cases into his courtroom. So pause for a second and just kind of bask in that level of corruption for a moment. It's real, and if you aren't convinced, surely we can all concede at a bare minimum it looks like John Roberts is corrupt. That is the perception. Not to mention the infamous Obamacare decision that reads like it was written as a minority opinion, and John Roberts changed his mind after an immense amount of blackmail. Pressure. But in a system like this, where the same small circle of legal elites dominates everything, even the perception that money and access are intertwined with the court should set off alarm bells, and yet, of course, it doesn't. According to reporting, those millions in commissions to John Roberts' wife were disclosed as a salary. A whistleblower back in 2023 said it was misleading. A law professor said it wasn't just inaccurate, that it was wrong as a matter of law. And through all of this, John Roberts has refused to recuse himself in any meaningful way. No stepping aside to protect the integrity of the court. And by the way, that's laughable in and of itself. The integrity of the court. None of our institutions have integrity, because in order to have integrity, the public has to believe that is true, and none of us believe that. We think they're all liars. Think about that. If a lower court judge had a spouse earning millions tied to firms appearing before them, they'd be expected to recuse. But the Supreme Court, no, they've got different standards, no binding codes of ethics. At least not until the very, very recently, and, whatever. They're going to police themselves? Yeah, right. No real enforcement. Congress tried to get involved, but they're useless because Roberts declined to testify. So, this is ridiculous. Also, you've got a leaking problem there. He, doesn't really care about these firms that are leaking different things to the press. These people within him, close to him, that are leaking decisions to the press. So what are we left with? What are we supposed to do with this? A system where the highest judges in the country operate under the loosest rules while making the most powerful decisions. And when millions of dollars flow through your household from the same elite legal world that stands before you in court, when disclosures are questioned and when recusals never happen, they never come. So what are we, the American people, supposed to do about it? Of course, if the Democrats win back power, end the filibuster, and pack the Supreme Court, then we won't really be talking about the court at all in the future, quite honestly. Any issue that comes before them will have already been predetermined. A predetermined result so certain that all we'll have to do to predict where the Supreme Court will land is to open up the Democratic Party platform and read. And they'll get every communist policy their dark hearts desire. So we're going to talk about this on the program today, and we're also going to talk more about the Southern Poverty Law Center and that corruption. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. As always, broadcasting live from the great state of Arkansas here on LFA TV, and I am joined by my friend in seat number 3. We've got Eric Haynes back with us. Eric, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. So great to be part of the conversation this afternoon.
Yes, sir. It's always great to have you. Glad that you could make it. I know that, a lot of people don't know this, but you and Rob, you guys sacrifice your time to be here, and really appreciate it because I know the audience loves it, and you make the show what it is. So Really do appreciate it. But what are your thoughts on all this? Did you know? Because, see, I didn't know this. I'm going to tell you how this particular show came into being here in a minute. But did you know this? That the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, has a wife who works in these legal circles and gets paid by law firms that end up arguing in front of the Supreme Court. Did you know this?
Yeah, the lawyer headhunter is hiring the lawyers that speak before the Supreme Court. It's mind-blowing.
It is. It absolutely is, and it calls into question...
But... Let me say this.
Okay, yeah. Not really.
Is it mind-blowing, though? It's like my initial gut reaction is to be surprised, and then all of a sudden you get that response or that real gut check where it's like, but isn't this just par for the course?
Yes,
I mean, it's like we see this new stuff plays out every single stinking day.
No, yeah, I mean, you're right, and that's kind of why I pointed out, like, I mean, this is every institution is like this. In some way, and there doesn't really ever appear to be any, I mean, the SPLC thing is fantastic. It's great.
My
but,
gosh.
We're about to embark on this the reason I brought it up is because of the birthright citizenship. But let me tell you kind of how this came to be. First of all, let's show you the Forbes article, which is here. Justice, let's see here if we can get this thing to go this way. So this was from 2023. Chief Justice John Roberts, his wife, made over $10 million as a legal consultant. She said it was her salary, but it was really commissions, and people had an issue with that. There was a whistleblower that filed a complaint. And by the way, this was for like a 10-year period before 2023. So you got to presume this stuff is, and this is nothing new to the court either. This also happens when it comes to, paying the siblings or the spouses or paying the your sons and your daughters. You can enrich their lives and be a public official and then throw your hands up and say, it's not me, I had nothing to do with it. This is just a pattern of abuse. And honestly, I've talked about it before, there's no real way to stop this from happening, especially if he's not going to even recuse when he needs to. There's no way to stop this from happening with a law because you can always tell somebody at Thanksgiving dinner, what the best stock to buy is or what the best stock to short is. Or you can, in this case, hey, give my family member a job, give my Nepo baby a job where they do nothing or go to work at this hedge fund. I think that's what Hillary Clinton's daughter Chelsea did. I'm going to go work at a hedge fund now. So, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to reward a family by paying off their kids or their spouses. So this is nothing new here, but I just wanted to highlight that I don't trust John Roberts, and it's also it's happening here in this case.
And I'll speak from personal experience with my experience with headhunters and recruiting agencies. I do work with those in the occupation that I'm in the medical device industry, in the healthcare world. They're very, very resourceful people. They're in the know on everything. There are headhunters and recruiters that have my cell phone that call me and text me, asking me questions about things going on in the area. Like I have a personal relationship and rapport with a number of the headhunters that I've used and that I have been in contact with over the years. This smells bad. It stinks. But why am I surprised?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so the genesis of this was kind of a follow-up to this. It was this tweet right here by somebody who calls himself Pubulus, and it says a crazy-o corn pop is the actual handle. They're not a fan of AOC.
I was going to say there's an AOC reference.
So crazy-o corn pop. But he said this morning. That's what made me find the 2023 Forbes article, because I was like, is this true? Now he said, he's saying it's 20 million. Of course, back in 2023, that report saying it was 10 million. But I digress. It's millions of dollars. SCOTUS scandal explodes, according to him. Chief Justice John Roberts reportedly hid 20 million plus in his wife's commissions from big law firms that argue before SCOTUS, then refused to recuse in over 500 cases. He mischaracterized the cash as salary and buried her equity stake for years. John Roberts must resign immediately or be impeached. Where are GOP leaders? So there's been a lot of speculation, as I mentioned in the monologue, about Obamacare and how the majority decision looks to be written as a minority decision. There's a lot of people that think that he changed his mind at the last minute over the individual mandate, over pressure or potential blackmail. But So I don't know. This is the other side of that, though. This is, honestly, you could make the argument that the speculation that they've got something on John Roberts, this is the reward for cooperating. You could make that speculation. And at this point, because, very rarely is anyone held accountable.
Right.
I mean, at this point, if you're a public official, and I know this is against our system, but I think these people actually hate us. And so, at least in my mind, you are guilty in a lot of this stuff before you're proven innocent. Not innocent until proven guilty, because we're a lawless country. And I just think it's reasonable to conclude at this point that we don't trust any of these people. And the reason this is a big deal is because right now we have a society-saving measure before the Supreme Court, and that's President Trump's Birthright Citizenship executive order that's being debated. Mm-hmm. And shocker, Chief Justice John Roberts, this was back on April the 2nd, according to this audio, Chief Justice John Roberts appears set to throw a wrench in Trump's birthright citizenship case. And I think President Trump is very much aware of this, as I'll give you evidence of that here in a minute. But I'm just reminding you that a couple of weeks ago, Chief Justice John Roberts signaled that he might act as a thorn in President Trump's side. During oral arguments over Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship, Roberts pushed back against Solicitor General John Sauer, who made the president's argument. Specifically, Roberts sounded skeptical that the 14th Amendment, on which birthright citizenship rests, excludes children of illegal immigrants. Based on Chinese media reports, Sauer said in the clip posted on social media, there are 500 to 500 birth tourism companies in the People's Republic of China whose business is to bring people here to give birth in return to that nation. Having said all that, Roberts replied, do you agree that that has no impact on the legal analysis before us? We talked about this when this happened. We actually featured this article. Mm-hmm. So Sauer didn't want to hear the practical reality that this misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment is having on national security and essentially globalism. I mean, they are using our 14th Amendment as a globalist mechanism to essentially create Chinese Manchurian candidates where they're sending their pregnant women here, they're having their children, they're taking them to be raised in China, but they're now American citizens because of our boneheaded, dumb, civilizational suicide policy. Okay? So, it does appear that he's skeptical. Maybe he does the right thing. I don't know. But I'm not going to hold my breath on John Roberts because I haven't trusted him since Obamacare.
Flip a coin, buddy.
I mean, Obamacare was so cut and dry. It was clearly illegal to require people to buy a health insurance policy because they're breathing air.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most un-American thing ever. And, their stupid argument was, well, you have to buy car insurance. Yeah, but I have to have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a right to the roads. I don't have a right to drive a car. I mean, those things can be taken away.
What I have to have is liability to cover someone else if I injure or hurt them. I don't have to do full coverage to cover myself.
No, you don't.
So, but that's completely different.
Right. And by the way, I'll just throw this out there that liability, like that's biblical. We get liability. It looks different in different societies, but if you go and you look at the Old Testament, you can see where there were laws on the books where people had to have railings on their roof because a lot of times you would entertain guests on the roof. Well, the idea was you are responsible for your guests' safety when they're on your property. That's still, for the most part, true today.
Yeah.
So we take that principle and we say, we apply it to different areas. And one of those is, hey, yeah, you need to have some sort of insurance, liability insurance, in case you destroy someone's property. Yeah. So we can figure that out.
Right.
That's not the same thing as reducing essentially labeling the price of a life. It's what it was. Like, how much is your life worth? Well, it's actually, not really quantifiable because we're made in the image of God. I mean, it's worth, God coming down from heaven and dying for it. But then it was so dehumanizing to say, no, if you are alive, you owe us a tax just for being born.
Yeah.
Forget the tax credit for having kids. If you're alive, you are already in debt to the government, in theory, because you have to have an insurance policy or you're not legal.
And by the way, that comes with a premium, a monthly premium that you pay to that company, which was excessively high. And the wild thing is when people started bringing the receipts, we all figured it out what much of a farce that was. Golly.
Totally insane.
Enjoy that extra, $1,000 tax out of your pocket every month to make sure that you're covered at the hospital if something happens. God.
Yeah, exactly. And so John Roberts took the easiest decision ever, and he caved on this. And the 14th Amendment is just as easy, and you can argue it's done way more damage because it's been around longer, where we've enabled our own demographic demise. And that is why President Trump is out there, and he's now in a way back on message. He took radio talk show host Michael Savage's newsletter and posted it directly to his Truth Social. And I thought this was interesting because when I saw it, at first I dismissed it because it was so long. It was such a long screed. Let me see if I can't show you. Look how long this thing is. 4 pages long is what he posted on Truth Social. And so I looked at his truth, and I immediately was like, welcome to the Savage Nation. And I thought, wait a second. Is Trump coining something new? Are we about to, is he launching a new buzzword or whatever, like Kofifi, like the Savage Nation? And I was like, that can't be Michael Savage, is it? Sure enough, it is.
Indeed.
So I'm going to read this because it's actually triggered the right people.
Yeah.
And anytime the right people are triggered, I think it's of note, especially when, President Trump needs a win. It says, welcome to the Savage Nation. Today's brief, abbreviated discussion will be about the arguments that I just listened to before the Supreme Court about birthright citizenship. I was somewhat incensed by listening to the arguments because all I heard was legalese being bandied back and forth, and quite noticeable to me was that the person bringing the arguments in favor of flooding America with illegal aliens to change the demographics forever was a Chinese American. Remember we talked about this?
Oh, yeah.
Chinese American who looks to me like the classic ACLU attorney. Very smart, very evil, and very devious. The ACLU is the head of the snake. They have been forever, and there they were again trying to turn America into a cesspool. He goes on. Again, President Trump posted this. We all know that these arguments should not be conducted in the abstract of a courtroom. This is really not about law. This is about public opinion. Now, I could start arguing about the Constitution itself, and I'll run into the stone wall with you. We can't modify the Constitution because it's written in stone, and if we do, they'll take away our First and Second Amendment, which is what they want to do. So that's the problem. The Constitution was written before air travel, needless to say, before television, before the internet, before radio, and you could say, how relevant are some of these arguments when people are coming here by airplane in the 9th month of their pregnancy? A baby here becomes an instant citizen. And then they bring the entire family in from China or India or some other hellhole on the planet. You don't have to go far to see that. English is not spoken here anymore. That there's almost no loyalty to this country amongst the immigrant class coming in today, which was not always the case. No, they're not like the European Americans of today and their ancestors. The Irish integrated, the Italians integrated, the Polish integrated, the Lithuanians, the Romanians, the Russians, they all integrated and became Americans in the melting pot. The idea of the melting pot is long over. It is now just a cash-in pot. We've gone from the melting pot to the chamber pot, which is, a waste, which is the toilet.
Indeed.
As I've said many years ago, you don't have to go any further than any city in America to see what has wrought upon this country, what all this has wrought upon the country. So to listen to these very wise, smart lawyers arguing in the abstract as to whether birthright citizenship should apply to anyone born here, no matter who their parents are, where their parents came from, is ludicrous to me, which is why I put up a poll on my social channels where I said birthright citizenship should be subjected to a national vote. not put in the hands of lawyers. Let the citizens decide. Of course, I knew how it would go because I know what the people think. It's 80-20. Yes, of course, we should have a national referendum on this. In California, we have propositions as rigged as they are that the people get a chance to vote on certain propositions. When we vote against what the governor wants or what the vermin who run the state want, they find a cockamamie ACLU lawyer to overturn our vote anyway, which is where revolutions arise. Because no longer can we take any more of this excrement. I don't like getting vulgar, but I can't take it anymore. The country has been stolen from us by these effing lawyers. Shakespeare had it right. I didn't like listening to all of their fine arguments without talking about the realities in place and how this has become a bankrupt welfare nation. There is article after article about the abuse of the welfare system in the state of California. Great one today in California Post. You actually would not believe the extent of the fraud in this state, and a good portion of it is being conducted by immigrant front groups, all protected by the ACLU, which is the most dangerous criminal organization in the history of America. They've done more damage to this nation than all of the mafia families put together. In my humble opinion, gangsters with laptops. They've robbed us blind, treated us like second-class citizens, let the turd world triumph, stepped on our flag, etc. So again, birthright citizenship is the question. I can't take much more. I woke up and I saw what was going on, and I said, I'm really glad that I could watch this. First, they made an issue of Trump showing up like it was illegal for the President of the United States to witness this, when it turns out they said, oh, he is there to bully them. Actually, they said, as we studied this, there was actually a chair put in there by the Founding Fathers in the Supreme Court for a president to sit in. So president is an activist president? That was no good either. Whatever he does is no good, according to them. Earlier, when I saw this going on and listened to the snake from the ACLU, Miss Wang, Attorney Wang, she speaks so eloquently. Supreme Court arguments are just legal tricksters. I wrote about fighting each other. Our nation is being overrun with Chinese coming here just to drop a baby on our shores to then bring in an entire family. How about some common sense in bankrupting a nation? ACLU Attorney Wang is pushing to destroy our national identity, turn us into a colony of China, but it's not limited to China, it's also India. They're also abusing it. I used to be a great supporter of Indians in India until I opened my eyes up to what's going on here. White men need not apply to jobs in the state of California, never mind in high tech. I don't care what your qualifications are, you're not getting a job at high tech in California. Your chances are nil. You have to be from India or China because almost all of the internal mechanisms are set up to run by Indians and Chinese. I know it for a fact, and you don't have to argue with it. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't argue with me. So I can ask you if you agree with me, and I know the answer already. I see it on X. Simple. Birthright citizenship. Should birthright citizenship be subject to a national vote? Not put in the hands of lawyers? Should the citizens decide? It's running 78-21. Admittedly, it's a small sample. Admittedly, it's a bias sample. Okay. But watching the Supreme Court arguments made me very disturbed because we can't leave it to a handful of lawyers to decide the future of our nation. There's a very famous case, and I think it was Stonewall Jackson, who, after the Supreme Court ruled about the Cherokee removal, he disagreed with the Supreme Court and what they said. And he said, now that the court has decided, let them enforce, meaning he said, go screw yourselves. I hold all the power with the military. That's what he said to the Supreme Court. Then sure, let them come here and drop a baby in the 9th month on the doorstep and turn them into an instant citizen and then bring in all of their ancestors from India and from China. Sure, bring them in all. This really sounds like Trump, by the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't this really sound like a Trump speech? No wonder he posted this. He says, if that's what happens, which is what I see what's going to happen, I think we need a Jackson as president, and I don't mean Ketanji Jackson. We need someone who just stand up to these lawyers. They've destroyed our nation. Unbelievable what's going on in my nation and my state. I'm going to skip down here. They all work their own worlds, so they all work in their own world, and they don't want to be excluded from the events that the legal people have with each other. It's the lawyers of the ACLU who have destroyed this nation. They're always on the side of the criminal, not the cop, the criminal, not the victim, the illegal alien, not the legal citizen. The ACLU is a gangster criminal organization. I've for years told you how this could be done, and I still don't know why Trump hasn't done it. He's gone after other national enemies. For God's sakes, he's at war with Iran right now. I would say that the ACLU has done more damage to this nation than Iran has ever done directly to this nation. That's what I said earlier.
You did.
I said that to you
one of
guys
our-
in the text, and
Yeah.
I said it on one of the shows, and I can't even remember the context now. What were we talking about?
You were just wanting us to stay focused on the problems we have here in the homeland
Yeah.
versus always feeling like we got to be
Yeah.
knee deep in poo
Right.
over in the Middle East.
Exactly. But it also had to do with the threat to this country. Oh, yeah. It was basically the threat of the Democrats taking power again
Right.
is greater than anything going on overseas in the Middle East right now.
Totally.
Was my point. The ACL has done more damage to our borders than anything Iran has done. Listen to this. The ACLU and their cockamamie lawyers have done more damage to America than the mullahs in Iran have done to this nation. Why can't they be taken down under the RICO statutes or racketeering? That's the ACLU by definition, where 3 or more people conspire. That's all they do, conspire with money from Soros and other enemies of the state to bring this nation down and turn it into an unrecognizable cesspool reminiscent of the third world dictatorships. Break the ACLU on RICO statutes. Then we're almost to the end here. President Trump, please, I don't think it's going to happen. They're all afraid of them. I don't know what it is. I don't understand that. That's one man's opinion on the issue of birthright citizenship. What does diversity mean anymore? Have you been to an emergency room at least recently? I have. See how you're treated in the ER room. It's like the Tower of Babel. They're milking the system dry. If one of them gets a runny nose, 15 of them come in there and they get $100,000 treatment for nothing. You ever see your bills after going to the ER for a cut finger? You say, how could it be $30,000 for a cut finger? What do you think is paying for the illegal aliens? You are in the hospitals. President Trump, one last appeal to you today. Please bust the ACLU under RICO statutes before there's nothing left of this nation to save. Again, that's President Trump posting an entire newsletter from Michael Savage on his Truth Social account, and people are mad about it. Here is the Hindu American Foundation. We are deeply disturbed, they say, by POTUS sharing this hateful, racist screed targeting Indian and Chinese Americans. Endorsing such rants as the President of the United States will further stoke hatred and endanger our communities at a time when xenophobia and racism
Racist.
hats off to Nerdrotic, are already at an all-time high. We ask Donald Trump to reconsider, delete this post, and recognize the indelible contributions of Asian Americans to our great country. I'm sorry, Tyler Oliveira, Nick Shirley, all these guys out there that have exposed just this massive fraud. No, I'm sorry, these are not good contributions to our country. Not.
The Hindu American Foundation is
Yeah.
triggered.
Yeah,
Oh, darn.
I mean, it's like
Really?
it's a much needed positive. I'm going to be real, much needed positive when you're getting this kind of criticism from the left, and that's what Donald Trump, President Trump, respectfully, you need to wake up every day and figure out how what can I say that will make the left's head explode.
Yeah.
Instead, maybe that will end some of this massive right wing infighting right now. That's it needs to happen. So anyway, I know we took a long time to say all that, but
It was worth saying.
John Roberts, guys. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett as well, but John Roberts. It's you got to kind of wonder. You got to wonder about these leaks too, because there's yet another leak. There's been like 3 leaks over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
When the Dobbs decision leaked, that was huge. That was an attempt to basically. Well, I mean, it was definitely the leftists that did it. I mean, nobody on the right. They're wanting violence against these people. They're wanting the threats. They're wanting the intimidation. So, I'm not holding my breath, but I will say this: if the Supreme Court somehow does rule against the birthright citizenship as it currently stands, it would be a huge win for our posterity and for the future of this country. Because it would, you can cut the welfare. You can try to do mass deportations. You can even try to say, hey, the bank's going to try to, we're going to get the banks involved to make sure you're a citizen if you have a bank account. You can do stuff like that. But getting rid of birthright citizenship would be a huge incentive breaker. I mean, it would be a disincentive all of a sudden. Like your kids aren't citizens. So they're not entitled to Social Security. They're not entitled to the Bill of Rights, quite frankly. All of a sudden, all of a sudden it's a game changer. At least I think so. But who knows? It may be too late. I mean, even if that's actually a good thing. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but even if the Supreme Court does do the right thing, you've got Greg Bovino, the former border security chief, saying he thinks there's 100 million. I said that today on Michael Albert's show. I was his guest on his show, The Insurrection, over on Ex American News, and I was like, "Have you heard this, Mike? Like Greg Bovino, the guy that resigned, or he quit the Border Patrol. He was the head of Border Patrol. He kind of got nixed.
He's the Chicago guy.
He's the guy that it was after the Minneapolis thing. It was after
yeah.
Renee Good and Preddy,
Greg
and all of a
Bovino.
sudden, Greg Bovino. He's come out and said the real number is there's 100 million illegal immigrants.
Jeez.
Not 20 million, not 30 million, not 50, 100 million here, which. I mean, even if you got rid of birthright citizenship, what does that even? What does that do? I mean, how do you deal with a problem like that? If we're 350 million people in this country, and I guess does that include the 100 million illegals or not? Are they just here silently? Or are we really a nation of 450 million people? That's I guess my question.
Right.
How many of them are counted versus not? Jeez. But. Let's move on to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, actually, you want to take a break real quick? Let's reset and take a break as I'm going to tell you about Redvive Health and the great folks over at redvivehealth.org/Paul. That's redvivehealth.org/Paul. We're going to have some news on this about how, coming up in the future, about how we can potentially really help veterans who need to get this life-saving red light technology, life-enhancing. If you're struggling with pain, if you're struggling with inflammation, if you're struggling to fall asleep at night, I want you to look into the benefits of red light. Not just red light, but near-infrared light. The panels at Redvive, they put out red light and near-infrared light, 2 different light bulbs, 2 different frequencies, and it stimulates the mitochondria of the cell, and which is obviously the powerhouse of the cell. I remember 10th grade biology. It's what makes cellular respiration possible. And it's really incredible stuff. I have one of these panels. I was using it the other night. Weirdly enough, my cat, which I didn't get a cat. My family got a cat. I'm not a cat person. Anyway, the cat is gravitating towards it. It knows that it's good for them. It's really kind of weird. But anyway, redvivehealth.org/Paul. Save 35% with code Paul. 35% off these panels, and I know they're a pretty penny, folks, but there's a money-back guarantee. You can try this thing for 60 days. They also have 0% interest financing. You can send this thing back. Just buy it, and if you don't like it, you can send it back. Just save the box. Nobody ever does send it back because they fall in love with this stuff, because you instantly get energy boosts, all kinds of things. You can read all about it at redvivehealth.org. Even if you don't know if you want to buy, go do the research about the life-enhancing benefits of red light therapy. If you're thinking about surgery, folks, you need to consider doing this first. There's even orthopedics. I've heard that orthopedic doctors are mad at this technology because it's kind of disrupting their pocketbooks a little bit. So just something to think about. redvivehealth.org/Paul. We're going to take a quick break and be back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Redvive.
The other things that we're seeing, more and more use for is even vascular issues. So one of the mechanisms that red light, near-infrared light, or Redvive works is stimulation of the mitochondria and stimulation of nitric oxide production. So when nitric oxide is released in cells, it vasodilates cells. It reduces inflammation. It moves blood. It brings blood flow to areas. So folks that have issues with ulcers or burns or wounds, it can help stimulate increased blood supply, and you need blood to heal. So that can open up different avenues for peripheral artery disease, for neuropathic pain syndromes. And so that's one of the other areas for nerve injury or nerve pain that we can leverage this type of medicine.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. What do you call this? So we really appreciate you being with us, broadcasting live from the state of Arkansas. I just want to remind everybody out there that brisket prices are still too high. We have a lot of work to do. I have not yet launched my campaign for Emperor yet, but if I do, then I'm going to, that will be my only message. I will lead a populist revolution over brisket prices. A cut of meat that was originally no one knew what to do with. And so a lot of people, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. The people who learned how to barbecue, learned how to cook meat slow. And I'm not talking, no offense to you pellet smokers out there. I mean, I've cooked on a pellet grill, but I'm more of a, traditional stick burner guy myself. By the way, any barbecue sponsors out there, you want to sponsor us, I know how to speak the lingo. I'm an aspiring pit master. But anyway, brisket prices are too high. I could lead this populist revolt. I really could over this issue. I think we would make great nobles. I think aspiring pit master would make great nobles. I mean, we're already in some sort of weird neo-feudalism anyway. Might as well embrace it, but we'll do it over brisket prices. And, but yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, it was a piece of meat. Nobody knew what to do with it. The same thing I mean, pork is too high too. Pork shoulder is still fairly reasonable. But I mean, I remember the day where you could go get a pork shoulder, a big pork shoulder for $6 or $7, and now it's $15, $18, $20. It's, come on. Something is really wrong here. It's and it is the meat packers. It's a monopoly. You've got Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Finally, we finally got some antitrust action with that. Meta's getting hit, and there's others. Amazon needs to be hit with what they're doing. We covered that yesterday. But specifically, it's just crazy. People have gotten, part of it is because people have gotten so good at cooking brisket in particular. It is so highly valued because it's delicious that, it's the price has gone up because of that. Or at least, you see the memes up there, Texas barbecue. People be like, here's a slice of brisket and Texas toast. That'll be $45. It's not far off from that. It really isn't. It's not far off from that. But, let me know. I mean, what do you guys think about that? By the way, Eric had to step out and take a work call, so he's going to be here in just a second. He's going to be back here in just a minute. Let's see here. R-Star77. When I was a kid and went shopping with my father, you could get 4 paper bags of groceries for less than $10. Insane what's going on. X Machine says, nice. Steaks at Publix, it's like $50. 3 smaller steaks, $25. I feed my family and treat them to steak once every other paycheck. Did somebody have a brisket price out there? Anybody? Are there any pitmasters out there? Any aspiring pitmasters? I don't really say that I am a pitmaster, although I've been cooking for a long time. I will say that. Anyway, And the weird thing about that is, so where I'm at in my little corner of the Shire in Arkansas, I mean, we're more, obviously, we're not beef barbecue people. I wasn't raised on beef barbecue. That's not who we are. But I learned to cook the Texas way. I learned to cook because everybody said it was hard. Everybody said it was the hardest thing to do. And they were right. Cooking a brisket, everything involved in it is harder than just putting a pork shoulder on or some ribs on. I mean, it's definitely harder than ribs. But anyway, but I love it. I will give, as an Arkansan, hats off to Texas for their barbecue. I'm not much of a Kansas City guy, although, I mean, hats off to them too. But like Texas barbecue, brisket, amazing. And that whole thing, hats off. Like anytime I'm cooking a brisket, I am trying to bring a piece of Texas to Arkansas, for backyard barbecues or things like that. $7 a pound for brisket, Bad Moon says. Let's see, Amy CM 1019, I'm in Kansas City and love our barbecue sauce. Yeah, I mean, Kansas City has the sauce. I mean, there's no question about that. In my neck of the woods, though, in Arkansas, our barbecue, at least the way I was growing up, is, you go to Memphis and it's got some saucy, but I was in my little corner of Arkansas, the way I was raised, there's this restaurant in Blytheville, Arkansas called the Dixie Pig. And it's very much of a dry rub based, and they don't actually do, they do more direct heat cooking of the pork shoulder. And so you really get that Maillard flavor as well as the rendered fat. You get that seared flavor in it. And so it's, anyway, but I would say Arkansas is more, I would classify it, at least everywhere's different, but I would classify it as, I'm more of a dry rub kind of guy, right? You might want to finish with some vinegar-based sauce or something like that, but I'm not really a sauce type of guy with me. And I think that's why I like Texas brisket so much, because it's just salt and pepper. Although, I will give you a hint, what you really need, if you're going to do brisket, I would, do your salt and pepper, do a little garlic powder, and do a little dusting of Lowry seasoned salt, and you're going to be good. We've got Jay Tyler says $80 to $90 for a good size one. Yeah, over at Sam's, minimum. If you go to Sam's Club, if you look at their prime brisket, minimum of $100. I mean, that's just what they've got. Minimum of $100 a brisket, which is insane. I mean, it's doubled. You used to could get a good brisket for $50, $60. It's absolutely insane. So, all right, let's talk about the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is pretty wild stuff, crazy stuff, actually. I'm going to talk about a new development about it here in a minute, because there's some people speculating that the SPLC might have been involved in the Oklahoma City bombing, and we'll bring you that here in just a minute. But Economic Collapse Report had this headline, and it really piqued my interest. SPLC's funding of Unite the Right Op generated an incalculable return on investment. They say an incalculable return on investment. They say there is a particular kind of audacity required to fund a fire, then sell buckets. That, in essence, is what a federal grand jury in Montgomery, Alabama has accused the Southern Poverty Law Center of doing. And if the indictment holds, it may force a reckoning with one of the most consequential political narratives of the last decade. On Tuesday, the Department of Justice charged the SPLC with 11 counts of wire fraud, bank fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The allegation, at the center of it all, the organization secretly funneled more than $3 million in donor money given explicitly to fight white supremacy, to actual members of the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Nation, the National Socialist Party, the Nazis, and others. But buried inside that indictment is a detail that dwarfs the financial crimes. One SPLC paid operative known as only Field Source 37 was a member of the online leadership group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. He attended the rally at the SPLC's direction. He made racist postings under SPLC supervision. He helped coordinate transportation for attendees. For his services, he was paid $270,000 over 8 years. Let that sit for a moment, they write at the Economic Collapse Report. The rally that liberals spent years holding up as proof that American conservatism was indistinguishable from Nazism. The event that launched the presidency, restructured the media landscape, justified mass corporate censorship on the right, and provided the emotional core of Joe Biden's entire 2020 campaign. It was the reason he won. I'm sorry, it was the reason he ran. He didn't win, but he claimed, this is why I'm running. Had a paid operative of a left-wing nonprofit organizing all of it. The prophet Isaiah understood this dynamic long before the age of nonprofit grift. Quote, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, end quote. The SPLC built an empire doing exactly that, and according to federal prosecutors, it was doing so with money it told donors would be used for the opposite purpose. To understand what was really at stake in Charlottesville, you have to follow the money, not the $270,000 paid to Field Operative 37. But the tidal wave that came back the other direction. According to the SPLC's own tax filings, the organization collected roughly $50 million in donations in 2016. In the fiscal year ending October 2017, the period bookended by the Charlottesville rally that they fundraised off of, the number exploded to $132 million. They almost tripled. Donations had never previously exceeded $50 million in a single year. They have not fallen below $97 million since. The organization, already sitting on $500 million endowment, received an infusion of celebrity and corporate cash that reads like a who's who of a progressive America. Apple CEO Tim Cook announced a $1 million gift, or grift, saying hate is a cancer. J.P. Morgan pledged another $500,000. George and Amal Clooney wrote a check for $1 million, declaring, what happened in Charlottesville demands our collective engagement. None of these donors knew, apparently, that the SPLC paid operative had helped make the event happen. Apparently they didn't know. Come on, you and I both know that somewhere down the line, these guys knew. Not all of them, but you got to know somewhere down the line, some donor somewhere knows exactly what they're going to do with this money. This is what acting is, so we know all the rest. So they had a massive windfall. This was crazy. People thinking that the problem is real. People thinking that white people are this close to taking over and it being a white supremacist nation. And they made a bunch of money off of it. False flagging the whole nation with a psyop. Let's not forget that somebody died during Charlottesville. Let's not forget that you also had the police kind of, just like J6, herding people into and not letting them leave, except one by one they could leave, or in twos, and it would just, they were sending them in to the crowd of outraged leftists. Let's not forget that happened. And yes, it built a presidency. Kamala talked about it. This is a really good article. The accountability the media won't demand. Let's look at this one. They write, the SPLC's interim CEO, Brian Fair, called the federal charges false allegations, insisting the informant program saved lives and that the organization will not be intimidated. He's entitled to his defense in a court of law, but there is a separate court, the Court of Historical Accountability, where the SPLC's record has already been entered into evidence, and it is damning regardless of how the criminal trial concludes. The question the media will not ask is the one most worth asking. How many institutions, journalists, corporations, and government agencies spent years amplifying an organization's moral authority? They were looked at as unassailable neutrality, just fact. If the SPLC says it, it's fact. It's gospel. This is how they were looked at. using that authority to silence, defund, and defame millions of Americans without ever once asking whether the authority was earned. The SPLC raised $132 million in a single year on the back of a rally that its own paid operative helped organize. It then used that money and that moral prestige to label Christian ministers as hate groups. We're going to talk more about the Christian ministers in a minute who were sympathetic to the SPLC and fell for this psyop. Some of them fell for it. Some of them are secret communists, but I suspect. It then used that money and that moral prestige to label Christian ministries as hate groups, to feed the FBI bad intelligence about Catholics, and to build a targeting list that a gunman once used to find a victim. The Very Fine People hoax, constructed largely atop SPLC's narrative infrastructure, launched a presidency. None of the journalists who repeated that hoax for years have been asked to answer for it. The return on investment, it turns out, was incalculable. In both directions, the SPLC extracted enormous financial and political capital from the wreckage of Charlottesville, and the cost to the truth, to the Americans falsely branded as extremists, and to the basic integrity of public discourse is a debt that no indictment can fully repay. I don't know about that. Because, I mean, I want people to go to jail for this. I'm willing to call it even if we actually see people in jail behind bars for this. But, I digress. Eric, my friend, welcome back, sir. How the phone call was good? Everything good?
Don't digress.
Okay.
You were on a roll.
My bad, brother.
Lock them up.
That's right. Lock them up.
We're going to go back to lock them up?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Lock her up. Lock them up. Lock they them up.
Yeah.
Lock they them up. Maybe we'll get back to that. But here's another situation. Here's another wrinkle to this that is pretty incredible. And that is, people are going and looking at everything the SPLC has ever touched.
Oh, yeah.
And they need to.
Yeah.
They need to. They need to look at everything that they've ever touched. So
strap in for how far this goes back, brother.
So Ken Silva, who is from the Libertarian Institute, don't really know what that is, but he posted this on X. He says the SPLC had informants embedded in Elohim City, where the OKC bombing is suspected to have been planned by McVeigh and others who were never charged. Never charged. And look at this. This is from government documents. Information has also been received through the Southern Poverty Law Center that one redacted, a.k.a. redacted telephone call from Timothy McVeigh on or about April 17th, 1995, 2 days prior to the Oklahoma City bombing attack, when redacted, per a source of the SPLC, was in the white supremacist compound at Redacted, Oklahoma. Redacted allegedly has had a lengthy relationship with Timothy McVeigh, one of the two indicted Oklahoma bomb defendants, the source of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
You imagine that? SPLC influencing, potentially, Timothy McVeigh?
I mean, there's a bunch of loose threads surrounding the Oklahoma City bombing. There always has been. Tucker Carlson actually did a really fascinating deep dive into this a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, and where he interviewed like one of the chief investigators behind this, and how there are people of interest. One person, I think, in particular, that they have never, matter of fact, there's allegations they like pinned it on somebody else who wound up dead in prison, if memory serves correct. And that, there was federal involvement, that this was an intel op, once again, where the FBI is creating crimes, not solving them, creating crimes and covering up the crimes. That's the allegation. And I'll tell you why I believe it. I remember this. So I was 10 years old in 1995, or actually I was 9. I was 9 years old. And I remember I would ride around in with my dad, and he'd have Rush Limbaugh on, and we would listen to Rush Limbaugh. And do you know what Bill Clinton said after this happened? He blamed it on Rush Limbaugh. He was like, this kind of stuff happens when you foment all this rage against me, and you got Rush Limbaugh who's out there 3 hours a day and he's talking all this stuff. He tried to blame it on Rush Limbaugh. He tried to blame the Oklahoma City bombing on a talk radio host, critical of the administration. Because and it's perfect. It's actually a perfect, if OKC was really a giant false flag, and you go back to the SPLC video of the senior fellow there, who behind him has this thing of the white population and the decline of the white population in America. And I think he had another one, the white population in Europe. And, this is their goal. Well, what do you do? Not only is the population declining, but we're also now telling everybody that white people are terrorists, that white people blew up Oklahoma City, that white people are racists and white supremacists, and they're a big danger. And so this narrative that that is now exposed with the SPLC funding the Unite the Right rally in Charlotte, what else have they been doing? And I think it's safe to say that everything they've ever touched needs to be suspect. And what it also shows you, and I think this is maybe the larger point, it shows you that these organizations that are arms of the left are being used as intelligence agencies. They're being used by the intelligence agency, or they themselves are intelligence. Just like it is an NGO, and we know what do NGOs do on foreign soil. What do they do on foreign soil? NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are governmental organizations. This isn't complicated. They are government organizations. They take this money, and then they're perfect tools for the CIA. And so we have made a mistake in thinking that the intelligence oligarchy only in the last 10, 15 years turned their Patriot Act powers against the United States and ran a color revolution against the American people here. With revelations like this, and again, it's not conclusive, but with revelations like this, you start thinking, oh, wow, no, they've been doing this for a while. I mean, then you got to think about, you look at Oklahoma City, then you look at Waco. Yeah. Then you look at Ruby Ridge.
McVeigh was indirectly involved in Waco, too, if you remember.
Right? I don't remember, actually. You'll have to enlighten me.
Yeah, I mean, McVeigh was there protesting what the feds were doing at Waco.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's some pretty cool recent documentaries that have come out that have shown that, like, he was there.
So
he was pretty ticked about it, which goes into why
the people at Waco were murdered, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't even think that's in dispute anymore. I mean, right? I mean, it was terrible what they did.
One of the greatest screw-ups in FBI history.
Yeah, exactly. And people were upset.
Totally.
And we got to know, we got to learn, like, what the government.
Not saying that those people were doing good things.
No, I mean, but did they deserve to be burned alive?
That they didn't break the law by having, automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Back then. But did all those women and children deserve to die the way they did and get burned up?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It's a great question. No, of course they didn't deserve that. And I mean, there's even people that have gone even further, and they're wanting to know about the federal involvement of the whole Waco operation. Like, was that kind of like we've got to, how much of that was the federal government responsible for being in existence in the first place? And was this time to wipe the slate clean time? Like, okay, enough of that. We got to get rid of you, right? Because I'm willing to entertain anything at this point, but
the documentaries are pretty incredible to watch.
Well, if you take into account the timeline, so Waco happens before OKC,
right?
So you've got this situation with Waco and the American people. It's a obviously the media covers it up, but if you were a sentient human being, you're like, oh my goodness, what happened?
Yeah,
you can't do that to people.
McVeigh knew the situation that was going on in Waco. He was
so it's a sympathetic thing, and then it's like, okay, you have the
nations, radicalized him,
right? That's the conventional wisdom, that it radicalized him. Or this guy could have been radicalized by the Southern Poverty Law Center. I mean, you just don't. I mean,
you don't know. I mean, it's speculation.
Yeah, exactly. It is speculation. I get it, but this is we have to ask all these questions now.
And by the way, we'll never know.
Correct.
That, but It's knowing what the SPLC it has done and is doing, and who all they're in bed with. Like, I wouldn't. I mean, nothing. Nothing.
I guess
shocks me
the
anymore.
point I'm trying to make is just I'm the narrative in my mind is, okay, what we did at Waco was bad. We look really bad. Let's remind everybody that white supremacists are evil. Let's remind everybody that not only are they evil, let's remind everybody that they're dangerous and they're terrorists. Right. We got to remind. See, this is what happens if you don't let us burn women and children alive in Waco. This is what happens. And have you ever looked into Ruby Ridge?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That one is even, to me, that is so much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of the stuff the government we have. I think we have more, and I could be wrong about this, but I think we have more record of exactly what they did to this guy at Ruby Ridge, and how the government makes a statement of, hey, if you're not going to be our source, we will frame you for having a sawed-off shotgun after the federal agent's the one that cut it off and then charges them with having it. And if you don't become an informant for us, we'll show up to your house and we'll shoot you and your family and put you in prison.
Yeah.
That's what the federal government really thought of average Americans in the Clinton administration.
Yeah. There's a whole run there of the early, mid, late 90s where it was just cluster after cluster mistakes by the feds.
Yeah, I mean, the feds were kind of acting, honestly, they were acting like they were working for like a drug dealer. Oh, wait. Maybe they were. Maybe we can go down the whole.
I feel like the Curb Your Enthusiasm music needed to start playing when you said, "Oh wait." Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh wait."
But no, I'm serious. Like if you look in if you really go down, you look into what was going on in our state of Arkansas, Boys on the Tracks, Governor Clinton, Mena, Arkansas, Barry Seal, and you start to think, was Bill Clinton just a glorified drug dealer that happened to be governor of Arkansas when all that was going on? And then you got to remember the U.S. attorney from the Western District of Arkansas at that time was Asa Hutchinson.
I think there was probably just a lot of residual coke abuse going on from the 80s.
Yeah.
That was ingrained into everybody's brain in the 90s.
But Arkansas
made them
was
just complete idiots.
Arkansas was perfect, though.
Yeah.
You get it right into the middle of the country, and then where can it go from there? The inner cities and everywhere else. So, I mean, it's not even conspiracy theory at this point. I
was going to say, get the dry erase board out and let's just start making bullet points.
I want to
start with the check marks.
I want one of those actual threads.
Our whole youth growing up, brother, our whole youth was just a series of those federal oversteps.
Yeah, it was.
And every time they screwed up.
Yeah.
Really badly.
I know. And there was no real media. Back then the media was owned just like they are now. It's worse now, but
yeah.
But on the SPLC, I'm not done with the SPLC because I want to talk about church. I want to talk about Christians, and I want to talk about the battle.
I drove through Mena the other day, by the way.
You did?
I gotta tell you, yeah, it's part of where I go back and forth between a lot of the hospitals in this state, and just driving through Mena is you get that feeling like you're in the middle of the Tom Cruise movie or something like. Not that it is what it is today, like it was back then, but it's still just a weird feeling knowing like. Well, look what happened. Think about what happened here.
In the topography of those Ozarks, that's some steep topography over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's steeper than other places.
Yeah, there's a general surgeon that I work with that he's down in Shreveport now, but during that time period, he lived and worked in Mena. And some of the stories that he has told me in conversations over the last few years, it is absolutely wild.
Yeah,
and some of these conversations he and I were having were before that American-made Tom Cruise movie came out.
Yeah.
So when it came out, I'm sitting there just like on the edge of my seat, just like, holy cow, he was right. Like it just going all.
But that one scene where Tom Cruise, Barry Seal's been arrested, and the Attorney General, what do you need, Bill?
Yeah, right.
And you got all these
Uncuff him.
people. You got FBI,
I'm
ATF.
going to walk out of here, guys. I'm going to walk out of here.
Arkansas State Troopers, and they're all...
You guys want a caddy? You want a caddy? That's so funny. That stuff really happened, man.
I think it did. Yeah, I think it did. I've also been told that the stuff did go down at Mina, but that there was even another airstrip.
Yeah.
Not close to Mina, but not quite Mina, but still around that same area.
See, the problem is my only real memory as a kid about that, because I was a lot younger than like a young adolescent, was just the Newsweek magazines week after week of Oliver North standing up testifying. It's
around
like
Contra.
that's the what's ingrained into my head is those Time magazine covers and of Ollie North raising his right hand under testimony. Anyway.
Yeah, I met Ollie North one time.
Did you really?
Well, back when his all that happened, and then he became a Fox News contributor.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Or on Fox News or whatever. But anyway, at some point, I guess his reputation recovered, and he started writing books, and people started buying books, and so he was at
Hannity started having him on his show.
Yeah,
all the time.
it's like, okay, we're gonna act like Iran-Contra didn't happen or whatever. I don't know, but so Ollie North, he came to Arkansas for one of these county committee Reagan Day dinners or Lincoln Day dinners, or whatever they call them. They have these things where I actually, back when Blanche Lincoln was the Democrat senator from here, I I told everybody, I spoke at one of the events, and I said, it's really nice of you guys to title your Republican dinner after U.S. Senator Blanche Lincoln. It went over like a lead balloon. I was like, I mean, I'm not the best comedian or anything. I'm not a comedian, but I secretly want to be.
Yeah.
In my head, I have a tight five that I add to.
Oh.
I'm dead serious.
Really?
Yeah, I have got a tight five that I keep in my head.
They're just
like if there was ever an open mic
ready.
night. Yeah, yeah. One of them is
they're
really bad.
Locked and loaded.
They're really bad. One of them is I can't remember if I've set it up correctly, but it's basically like you hear about the Muslims that there were these Muslim guys that were in church for this for this Christmas service or whatever, and
strap in, folks. You're getting the top five.
The tight five.
The tight five.
And they really didn't understand what was going on, and then they started singing "Deck the Halls," at the church service. And by the second verse, they were all in on it. Fa la 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 la, and they loved it at that point. When they got to the chorus, fa la 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 la. Anyway,
that's a good. That's
a
good one for a tight five.
Yeah, I mean, is it really though? I don't really think so. My wife just
would that be a dad joke?
Anytime
would that be a dad joke?
Oh,
yeah,
no. But it is me.
Sounds like a joke
I mean,
my dad would
it
say.
is my material. I do try to write and come up with my own material.
Yeah,
so,
good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You didn't have Grok write that for you? Or
no.
anything?
No, I haven't. Now you've incepted my mind. I'm not using AI for jokes like that. Although it would probably be better.
They're coming for everything else.
Yeah.
So they can't come for your tight five.
That's right. Not
your
mine.
tight five is your tight five.
Mm-hmm.
No Chat GPT or AI.
I can't remember. Anyway, I'm not going to get into them. All right. So I want to talk about Christianity real quick. I want to talk about the SPLC and
I triggered him, folks.
And evangelicalism. So David Schrock, this is true. This is a true statement, and it needs to be said out loud. The last 10 years of cultural warfare within evangelicalism has been largely instigated by hate groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center. The PSYOP went down like this. The SPLC funded events like Unite the Right in Charlottesville to foment racial animus. This was a trap. Evangelical leaders took the bait and spent the next 5+ years never trumping and chasing a boogeyman, white supremacy, that the real racists at the SPLC fabricated. All the while, the real problem of DEI, CRT, cultural Marxism, wokeness, etc., was both ignored, denied, or even championed and embraced by countless evangelical leaders. And I guess it's because they thought it would be a good evangelism strategy. In the end, to quote my good friend Tom Askell, we got played. There's a lot to unpack here. Some of these evangelical leaders were duped. I really believe that. The brain rot is real. Just like those on the left think that there is this boogeyman of white supremacy, and it's real. When the SPLC is manufacturing these false flags, yeah, that's true. And that also encapsulated some of these centrists. And honestly, I would tell you this. Years ago, if you were a Bible-believing Christian, you were, politically speaking, by default, center-right.
Yeah.
And now a lot of them are default center-left because they have this knee-jerk reaction. Because of psyops like the SPLC, they have this knee-jerk reaction that if they were to criticize the Democrat Party and their wickedness and their evil, they feel this need to then find something on the other side of the Republicans to critique, as if the two are morally equivalent, or I would say immorally equivalent. And yes, there are moral failings on the Republican Party, and you can certainly bring up how the National Party sold us out on the abortion issue 100%. But you cannot adequately compare the two as we are in a lesser of two evils situation, and we always have been, because there's no perfect man or party or politician or church for that matter. Mm-hmm. So there are those that, but I think it was so effective, especially if you're in larger metropolitan areas and that sort of thing, where there's going to be more leftists, there's going to be more people on the margins there, and so they think, okay, we have to tone down our outrage, and this also happens when. You have people that, this need to criticize both sides and that sort of thing is really a strategy to get your congregation. And sometimes it's intentional, and sometimes it's just a result of this. Either way, the SPLC gets what they want, to get Christians who need to be political. I am not one of these people that believe, and Stephen Wolf was talking about this today online, I'm not one of these people that a pastor's job is to be political. A pastor's job is to care for their sheep, is to preach the word of God, administer the sacraments. Like that is their job. When they're going to come to things in Scripture that do speak to the evil in this world and the things that we're going to, and they should definitely speak that. But it's not their responsibility to be political. It's yours. If you want your country back, it's yours. You take those biblical principles and you go out in every sphere of your influence, whether it's politics or dog catcher, and you do that. That is our responsibility. And so the SPLC false flag woke mind virus that they planted and everything, fundamentally and I think successfully they did this, they use it. Well, we're going to criticize both sides now. So you sit on your hands and you comply. You sit on your hands and you just comply, and you don't actually try to do anything because both sides are bad. And that is a way where we silently get put on the boxcars. And we need William Wilberforces. He was not a pastor. He was a guy that was a catechized Christian who spent his entire political career in Great Britain ending the slave trade without a shot fired. And he did that. He did that from a conviction of, hey, I don't think owning people is the end result of the gospel, and baptizing the nations in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey all that I've commanded you. I think doing that eventually is going to lead to saying, hey, maybe we're not going to own people. So that's my point. And Joe Rigney reposted this by saying, further evidence of this manipulation by progressives that Megan Basham lays out in her book, Shepherds for Sale. The actual money went to the SPLC and then to the KKK, while evangelicals living under the progressive gaze sought to be the right kind of respectable Christian by dancing to the SPLC's tune. And I just think we need to me, it's just personal for me, like, because I see it and I read a lot, and on X I follow a lot of people in Christian circles. And I see the battles that they have, and the fact that the SPLC was essentially running, and it's not just them, but running a psyop that infected a lot of evangelical leaders, is just something that we need to recognize. It happened, folks, and it's incredible, actually.
I think churches are in a tough spot these days because of the liberal progressive agenda. And not all liberal progressives are atheists. So the fact is that no matter what denomination or church that you're in, you're probably going to have some liberals that are down sitting across, behind, in front, or in the same pew as you. And there's the squeaky wheel gets the oil. In a lot of cases, they're the squeaky wheel that ends up voicing a lot of things up to management in congregations in this country, and are influencing some folks that don't want to take a stand and are being pandered to by congregations and leadership within those congregations that don't want them to leave, so they allow that nonsense and try to just keep the peace and try to let things just play out and take a very Switzerland, and I see it all the time. And I know leadership in these congregations are in a tough spot because they are trying to shepherd to everyone. Churches don't need to be MAGA rallies any more than they need to be Antifa hotspots.
Of course.
So, there is at least a balance that's needed. But you do have a lot of congregations that have no guts and no ability or no interest in speaking up at all, and then they end up getting overrun by that same liberal progressive ideology that infects our politics.
Yeah.
And so then you've got a lot of people silently or not silently on social media and whatever hollering back and forth, and now leadership is in the middle saying, okay, now what do? We didn't take a stand on anything. We tried to just let this play out and be in the middle and away from it and out of the fray and tried to speak the truth in love, but we didn't really get on top of this like we should have. And we didn't end up addressing anything.
Yeah.
And now no one knows where we stand on this issue.
Yeah, well,
this side doesn't understand where we stand on it, and this side doesn't understand.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you try to make everybody happy, which, as I said yesterday, I can be guilty of sometimes.
Yeah.
But I would say this. I think, a lot of times, especially if you have like an existing congregation that, believes that the Bible is inerrant, preaches the Word of God, and also doesn't take verses out of context, like, oh, this "be kind to the sojourner" means no border wall,
right?
And so if a leftist comes into that situation, they're not going to leave. They're going to leave. They just are in a lot of cases, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
and you got to help them find the exit too.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
that's the tough thing
sometimes.
For leadership. And
yeah,
what's sad is that a lot of people end up taking their money with them,
yeah.
and that becomes a problem.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be a problem. It should just be, okay, man, like, sorry, whatever. But
that's the reality of what churches are dealing with.
All right, so real quick to kind of wrap this up. This was another one on the SPLC. You can really see how the modern left stages. Remember this. Let me see. Let me pipe this in here.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
So, Kyle Becker writes, you can really see how the modern leftist stages these fake fights to divide Americans. This is from Charlottesville. It's like these riots are scripted by socialist theater kids. Turns out many are. Nothing the left believes in or fights against is real. I'm sorry, it's just really funny when you think about it. It really is.
It's all just a big farce.
It is, man. It is. It is, and it's insane. Here's how
it's in the same category as what's infecting us everywhere. What's infecting our healthcare system? What's infecting our border issues, our gender ideology? It's infecting everything. And it's hard to stay positive and stay happy and just, focus on what's good in life like we want to sometimes, because you've got so much of this nonsense going on. And you look at, it's like How many articles about Van Nuys, California do I have to see with all these Russian, Armenian...
I would say, what's going on in... Where is it?
This is where all the Russian, Armenian hospices are that we talked about before.
Okay.
Van Nuys is like the capital of it.
Okay.
Nick Shirley's been there, all that stuff. How many videos and articles do you have to see before you eventually just throw in the towel and decide to, get off the grid or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just sense a lot of people are going to start going to extremes, and I think about people in Virginia right now who are like, look what they just did here.
Uh-huh. And who knows if that...
I don't have a vote now.
Right.
Depending on where I live, if I don't live in that bottom southwest portion of Virginia, I do not have a voice.
And yeah, they don't know. I mean, the courts obviously overturned it, so
Sure.
they don't know that's going to hold. They don't know that the South Carolina Supreme Court's going to say, yeah, it was unconstitutional. I mean, apparently the legislature did not follow the proper procedure at all in actually getting this on the ballot.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that they've disenfranchised half the state, but it's the fact that apparently, they didn't even care to, and then there's a lot of there's stuff about people are looking at the elections as they were coming in, the numbers, and there's very weird anomalies. Not just we talked about
just the mail-in.
Yeah, we talked mail-in yesterday, but there's very strange, vote dumps and things like that occurred. But here's a congressman in Virginia named J.P. Cooney. J.P. Cooney. This is how, if you want to know how the left is taking the SPLC indictment, this is how they're taking it. I was a career corruption and civil rights prosecutor. The Trump Justice Department's prosecution of the SPLC, a storied nonprofit devoted to combating racism and white supremacy, is a sham, he says. DOJ's empty indictment accuses the SPLC, which paid to gather needed intelligence about the activities of extremists, of supporting the infamous 2017 Unite the Right white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. Yes, the violent rally about which Donald Trump said there were some very fine people on both sides. I'm going to talk this. Yeah, look at this guy. He probably talks like this. The DOJ probably didn't share with the grand jury the fact that the SPLC issued a newsletter in advance of the rally using its gathered intelligence, clear evidence that the SPLC was combating extremists, not helping them. When the court or the jury get the full picture, expect this case to fail. We have got to take back Congress and hold this DOJ accountable. So this is a guy by the name of J.P. Cooney, who, just by his last name, this guy is got a lot of guilt.
If he talks like that,
a lot of white guilt.
Would just be awesome.
I have no idea how he sounds. Hang on, let me click this link. Is there a video of this guy? Oh, there is. All right, let's see if he's. All right, you guys can't see it. Let's see if he sounds like that. Okay, he may not sound like this at all. But let's see this. Let's see here. Okay, here it is. Hang on, you guys can see it. Let's see if he has a lisp or sounds effeminate at all. He probably doesn't. Watch him sound. Vote for me, J.P. Cooney.
January 7th, 2021. The Department of Justice launches its investigation into January.
Dude, yes,
Is that him?
That is him. That it just sounds like I was doing an exaggeration of him. He sounds
ultimately leading to Donald Trump. Investigation into January 6th, ultimately leading to Donald Trump. August 8th, 2022. The FBI executes a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago.
The FBI executes a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, and our democracy is under threat from these people. So
enjoy your beta, Congressman. Virginia.
How?
Do the Tucker laugh.
yeah. Sorry. So no, but seriously, how?
Say something really fast and then go.
So I don't know, man. Like that is crazy. That was not planned. That was me not doing my journalistic due diligence. I had no idea. I just read his tweet. I've never heard of this guy before. I'd never listened to this guy before. In real time, LFA TV, in real time, you guys saw us essentially confirm stereotypes just by looking at the guy.
You went beta, and he one-upped your beta.
Yes, that's exactly right. In real time, we literally just looked at the guy's face. And the fact that he's a Democrat,
he's beta,
and assumed he had an effeminate voice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is great. I wish Rob were here. R star, just there's the comment section. Just choked on my glass of wine. My belly hurts. He's way down on the list. Yeah. Medic.
They heard the beta.
He's not a beta. He's a Zulu. Let's see. Renee 756 OMG Paul dying laughing. Less than beta. See, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! This makes me want to study the science
great.
of physiognomy. People talk about that all the time. Woo! All right. In other news, let's see here. We're going to go through these real quick. Just to say, the red state's reporting that 4 GOP senators doom Senator John Kennedy's Save Act America fix. This is written by Bob Hodge. As the saying goes, hang on, I want to get to the nuts of this. The House narrowly passed the SAVE Act. Hang on one second. Nuking the filibuster was a bad idea. My thoughts on that have certainly changed. In today's polarized political environment, it seems like an antiquated tool that is mostly used to obstruct. Hang on one second. I'm trying to find the exact quote because I just want to move on from this. 4 Republican senators, often critical of President Donald Trump, voted against instructing the Chamber's Rules Committee to find a way to add the SAVE Act elements to the budget reconciliation package. So once again, rhinos like this are almost, it's arguable point, I guess, but they're almost worse than Democrats because I think if you're a liberal Republican, you're bad. Right, but if you're a rhino who's actively working for the other side secretly, which I think we have a lot more of those than we want to admit, maybe all of them, you're worse than a Democrat, right? It'd be one thing to have like a moderate Republican who's legitimately moderate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like who's an honest
That's
person
fair.
who's legitimately moderate. I don't know, that may be a unicorn. That may not exist. But I can conceive of that notion and say, okay, that's better than the Democrat. But some of these people, I really do believe, are wolves in sheep's clothing. They are actively working for the other side. They want the other side to win. They want their own party to lose.
I think there's a few in the House, and then maybe like if you want to put John Fetterman in the Senate into that category or something like that. But yeah, it's like you're not going to find a lot of balance anymore. So everybody needs to just have that in mind. There is no balance anymore. There are no 90s House and Senates where you at least had cordial negotiations and conversations. Mm-hmm. Now you just have the stuff we see every day.
Yeah.
And the trash. I mean, you just that, and that's what's so scary about everybody on the right now throwing in the towel for the midterms. It's like, and we've talked about this before, but it's like, no, don't do that because we can all see what your alternative is. So the Republican Party is a big tent. We can all have conversations. We can all disagree. We see it with the news-related media voices and personalities all the time. They don't agree about much anymore. They're all frustrated and ticked off at each other and throwing darts and whatever. Yeah. But that's fine. That's what it's all about. You should be able to do that. But if you want real polarization and real destruction in this country, just go ahead and give the majority back to the Democratic Party for a while. Because we were so, I mean, dude, the Biden years taught us a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, now, I think we're facing. I mentioned
we
that
still may not recover from it. We all have to swallow the fact that this still may not be recoverable. As much as we're trying, and as much as some people are trying, it still may be a little bit of a lost cause. Yeah. Not to mention we're like $40 trillion in debt.
I do know this. I do know like the agenda of shrinking the American middle class. Again, the only population in the world that believes in the Bill of Rights, majority believes in freedom of speech, believes in the right to privacy. when that goes away, and this is fresh on my brain because I've recently watched the Hunger Games movie.
Oh yeah.
The further you get away from the capital, the more impoverished it is, right? So if you're on that last district, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the flyover country. This is what we're talking about. Like if they ever got rid of the Electoral College, which I think they'll do, they'll find a way to do that if they get in control, if they pack the court. We will have. They probably would love to get rid of 2 senators from each state as well. I think they would look to totally redo how we apportion representation in this country, and it'll leave states like Arkansas or Tennessee or Oklahoma. It basically as the people that can be forgotten about because we have no representation. We have no sovereignty, right? The reason we have 2 senators from each state is because Arkansas is a sovereign state as an entity. And so we get the same representation in that chamber as anybody else does because it's agreed upon that everybody recognizes our borders and we recognize your borders. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Yeah.
They'll get rid of stuff like that too. I mean, you're talking just massive communist takeover. And the system of government you'll have would resemble something like a Hunger Games. And you already have that in a way. Any recession, if you need a job in a recession in America, go to Washington, D.C. They are recession-proof. They are always an oasis of jobs. Now, why? Well, because they take all of our money and they print money to make sure that there's a reason there's a Lamborghini dealership in D.C. Why? Because people walk in there with cash to buy Lamborghinis. Because it's an oasis of jobs. It's an oasis of wealth. Because that's the seat of power. And you will have that amplified to 11, if they truly get their way and what their wish. Not to mention the flyover countries are mostly white people. And with the SPLC, they're anti-white. So they really have a reason not to care about us.
It's a sobering foreshadowing.
Yeah, I mean...
I hear people say, Lord, come quickly, way too much these days. Don't you? I feel like I hear it more often than I ever used to.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to cheapen that.
No, I mean
that event.
He is coming back soon, or at some point he's going to come back. I don't know if it's soon or not, but I will say that history kind of goes like this, right? And in this country, we've been really blessed for 250 years. Yeah. We're living off the derivative fumes of men of genius, real men of genius, and who are Christian men, and we're living off the derivative fumes of that right now, but I do know this also at the same time. It says, in the Bible pretty clearly that Christ suffered, and so we're going to suffer. So, but here's the deal. This is a good life. Even though we are fighting against evil, there are still people. There are people who are yet to be born that the Lord wants a relationship with, that the Lord will have a relationship with. That's why he hasn't come back yet.
Yeah.
There are more people. You've benefited from the grace of God. I've benefited from the grace and mercy of God. People out there, you, Eric, have, and there are more people that have yet to be born, more people that are alive today that are not Christians yet, that the Lord wants them. He wants them. And so if you ever wonder why it hadn't happened yet, it's because his redemptive plan isn't over.
Right.
And that actually, if you think about it in those terms, like you love your Christian brothers and sisters, well, we also love the ones that aren't here yet. And that's why we go forth every day, and we go to, subdue the earth and go and multiply. So, real quick, I'm just going to go over these headlines real quick. President Trump did release a statement on the ousted Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan, and this is what he said. Take a listen.
Questions, please?
Yes, sir. Could you talk a little bit about why your Navy Secretary was fired yesterday, sir?
He's a wonderful guy. I just put out a statement about him. He's a very good man. I really liked him, but he had some conflict with, not necessarily Pete, with some other. He's a hard charger, and he had some conflicts with some other people, mostly as to building and buying new ships. I'm very aggressive in the new shipbuilding, and somehow he just didn't get along with them. He's an excellent guy. I think he would have gotten along great with me. I didn't really deal with him too much, but he's I consider him to have done a very good job. I put out a nice statement about him. You got to get along, especially in the military. You got to get along, and And some people liked him, some people didn't. And that's usually the truth about everything. But I found him to be a very good man. And
yeah, isn't that the truth about everybody? Like, some people like you and some people don't. So, and that's the official statement. I haven't heard.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
I haven't heard. I haven't heard if there's something else. You know, there's always the official narrative, and then there's people that are like, "Well, is that really the truth?" There's probably something else as well as that. But anyway, that's that story. I don't know. Take it with do what you want to with it. Also, I want to report this. This is me being maybe a little selfish because I live in this area. A 4.0 magnitude earthquake was reported near Cooter, Missouri, or Missouri, on the New Madrid fault line. It's the strongest one in 20 years. For those of you that don't know, I live in the little corner of the Shire known as Northeast Arkansas, which is technically kind of on the edge of if we ever get the big one. The New Madrid faults.
Oh, yeah.
But this was, by the way, this was
done.
Yeah, I know. This.
I mean, Cooter's an hour from here, man.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Boot Heel of Missouri. Like, it was always, why are we getting under our desks right now?
I
if
know.
the big one hits, like, it's not going to matter.
Right.
I choked him up, everybody. Yeah, Cooter is a hop, skip, and a jump from here, man.
Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Yeah, so it excuse me. Not really sure what's going on, but
Just right up there by Blytheville.
Yeah, it's not far from Steele, Missouri either, and that's where I used to drive through there on the way to Cardinals games when I was a kid to pick up my uncle. But here is...
I mean, it was so close that I was texting people from
the radio.
Where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, did you feel that?
Did they?
I haven't heard back yet from anybody.
I didn't feel
specific,
it, but I mean, they said people in Memphis felt it. You know, the deal here, for those of you that don't know, is they say the New Madrid fault line is a ticking time bomb. I mean, there's always been earthquakes there, but the big one was in 1812 and 1811 and 1812. The ground liquefied, folks. I mean, the Mississippi River ran backwards. It was such a severe earthquake. And, you know, there's been people thinking that, you know, we're kind of due for another one in this area. You pray that doesn't happen, but I know the National Guard has been planning on this happening for a long time. I think the National Guard does drills based on, okay, like if the big one ever happens, what do we do? How do we help the people there? I literally live right in this thing's radius, and we don't really have very much seismic activity ever. So the fact that we just got a 4.0 is a pretty big deal. That's not nothing. So
it'll be a game changer if it ever does happen. I pray it doesn't, just because of what.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
The
I mean,
damage and destruction it'll do. Yeah, like we'll be done. We'll be gone. But
I mean, you would think that these areas have like earthquake coated buildings or no.
Not stop from that.
No, not at all, man. Like, not really. Because the last time it really happened, I mean, it might have happened in the 1900s, but the last time that it was a massive one, 8.2 was in the 1800s, where there was nobody here. I mean, there were people here, but there, it wasn't like it is now. It's a much more populated area. It'll be a massive event. And that's why I honestly, just because of where we live, I'm not one of these. I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I also look into this technology. These people that claim that the government actually has the ability to create earthquakes. So that's never far from my mind when I think about this. It's already a fault line, for goodness sake. So anyway, just wanted to give everybody an update there. I don't know much about earthquakes. Public service announcement, I guess. If it starts shaking, go outside. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? If you can, get out of the building if you can, and if not, hide under a desk. I'm terribly claustrophobic. It's like one of my worst nightmares is having to die in a pile of rubble.
I don't think my kids even do that drill anymore.
It's kind of like doing the drill. It's kind of like doing the nuclear drill. Like, go kneel in front of a wall, put your hands over your head.
Right.
okay, like
Yeah.
that was just some sort of psyop just to get everybody scared anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you know what's sad is
Yeah.
that now instead of earthquake drills, they do active shooter drills.
This is true.
And that's a really frustrating thing for me as a father, having kids where that's the kind of drills that my children do versus what I did, and that is a gut check.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real gut check.
Did you see that principal in that video that came out of that guy in Oklahoma? That principal in Oklahoma, student walked in with a gun. Principal saw it and just
yeah,
just
tackled him.
Yeah, hero. Yet another NASA scientist is dead. Nuclear propulsion expert was found charred inside his crashed Tesla. His name is Jonathan LeBlanc. A team led on NASA's most cutting-edge nuclear thermal propulsion projects was found charred beyond recognition inside his burned Tesla after vanishing from his Huntsville, Alabama home. His family immediately feared abduction. Tesla Sentry Mode data later showed the vehicle sat motionless in Huntsville International Airport for hours. The morning of July 22nd, the car was discovered that afternoon after colliding with a guardrail, slamming into trees, and erupting in flames. Authorities confirmed his identity days later through forensic examination. So this is another one of these scientists that has either died or gone missing. It is now so high I'm losing count. It's 11 or 12. This says over at modernity.news, as we highlighted yesterday, NASA's payload specialist James Tony Moffett and his entire family, also from Huntsville, were killed last week in a plane crash. This mirrors patterns highlighted in our early reporting on the scientist's death mystery now explicitly linked to NASA. Another one dead. This is now number 11th. Scientists linked to UFO secrets. Speculation explodes following disappearance of 10th expert with UFO and nuclear secrets. The FBI is now spearheading a probe, which means we'll never get probably any answers. Who knows? Some rogue FBI agent may be the one killing these guys in the first place. And
Tim Burchett was on.
Yeah.
Tim Burchett was on last night on the news, and he literally said, "We can have a conversation off air, but there's stuff that I know that I can't even talk about tonight," because they were asking him about it and pinging him about it, and it's like, "Well, I'm not going to talk about it right now."
Can you imagine if you're a scientist working on, revolutionary, like if you're a scientist right now working on cold fusion or anti-gravitational technology, one of these scientists was, and they had this UFO YouTuber killed himself. When cops showed up, he turned the gun on himself, we're told. Something is going on. I don't have a clue specifically what it is. I don't know what the play is here. A fake alien invasion to unite the world. I have no idea. But when I heard that there was a cold fusion lady who's been killed, there's all of those stories about the guy who disappeared or who got killed because he created a car that ran on water. So you always kind of think, well, free energy, Nikola Tesla's experiments. Apparently, there's a Mythbusters episode where they take some of Nikola Tesla's most extreme inventions that they think won't work, and they tried them out, and all of them worked. I was told this by Mike Lauber, but he said, yeah, one of them was they had to shut the machine off because there was a bridge that started shaking, and they had to they thought that they were about to hurt the structural integrity of the bridge. And apparently, there's an episode of Mythbusters where they do all this stuff.
Whoa!
So the idea of free energy is a game changer. I mean, if energy were free,
it's like that Val Kilmer movie, The Saint.
Yes,
remember that?
I remember that. That was the plot point, right?
Yeah.
And everybody will move heaven and earth.
Based on a Russian scientist that figured it out, I think, and Elizabeth Shue's character was trying to get it up. Cold fusion. Yeah, like free energy for the world.
And there are people that don't want that. You know what I mean? Imagine what that would do.
Right.
You know what? I take that all day long. Build all the data centers you want. Give us, because then they can power their own stuff.
Right.
Although I really don't want all the data centers. Project Stargate, no, thank you. That's a real thing. That's why all these data centers, are here because Trump won, and I say that because you go look it up. And it just is what it is. Disagree or agree, but there's an oligarchy war. You have Wall Street, old money, and new money, Silicon Valley back to Trump, Elon back to Trump. This was kind of part of the exchange. This was the exchange off. It's data center.
You heard about that city in Missouri, right?
No. Oh, yeah, that said no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were going to
exactly.
build a data center in that city, and the citizens came in and cleaned house, the entire city council. Like,
Said,
everyone.
No, you're not going to do this.
Literally.
And that's your only shot. Your only shot is not allowing them to build them, because once they're there, and especially when they get tied to AI, you're not allowed to regulate AI. That was one of the things that was in the BBB.
It's the noise too, right?
There is a noise component.
Deafening, like
noise component, water component. Although I did hear somebody say they don't use as much water as you think because they recycle it. They do take a lot of water to cool everything, but it's like, it's like a.
I watched a video, man, and this guy, somebody was filming it, and just the sound alone was wild.
Yeah.
How loud it is. And this community of people, at least the ones I saw in Missouri, they were like, no.
I know
the city council had approved it, and then they came in and just totally cleaned house.
You wonder, you wonder about pitchfork diplomacy, or you wonder at what point, if it really gets bad, where people are like, people get so fed up, it's like, no, they're not going for the bankers. They're not going for the politicians. They're like, no, we're going to burn and I'm not suggesting anybody do this, but
burn the ships.
You kind of wonder, we're going to the data centers because we're sick of this nonsense. You kind of wonder, you could write like a dystopian novel based on that. Or
what will the people of Virginia do now if they're not allowed to have a voice? I'm not saying this thing is going to go through.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, after that vote, you'd think like, man, talk about a pitchfork situation.
We were talking about President Trump's Savage Nation post. He made Michael Savage's newsletter and just posted it on Truth. And, the Hindu, what did we call that? The Hindu American Foundation. Outraged.
The halfies.
Trump, why would you do this? Why would you disparage Chinese and Indian immigrants? Well, maybe it's because of this. This is from Not the Bee. Major Indian temple to require visitors to drink cow pee to keep unbelievers out. Have you ever wanted to keep the unbelievers out of your pagan temple ceremony to the gods?
You see the Dumb and Dumb.
Well, look no further. Look no further than this genius idea out of India. One of India's holiest temples makes it mandatory for visitors to drink cow urine. Temple management says the new entry rules meant to keep away non-believers.
You get that Jim Carrey reference, right?
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Oh, yeah.
So that's from Dumb and Dumber when Lloyd like hands him the bottle.
Get the hell out of here.
Tic-tac, sir. You'd keep your mouth shut if you knew it was good for you, buddy. Give me that beer bottle. Pumpkin pie haircutted freaks.
Yeah, here it is right here. Look, here he is.
You'd keep your mouth shut up. You knew it was good for you, buddy.
People visiting one of the holiest Hindu temples in India's Himalayan mountains must consume cow urine as a test of faith before they are allowed inside. New entry rules for the Gangotri temple in Yucca Raka, not going to work here anymore, make it compulsory for every visitor to consume Panchagavya, a ritual concoction made from 5 cow derived products: milk, curd, ghee, honey, and cow urine. The idea, according to the committee overseeing the shrine, is to keep out non-believers.
Lloyd's filling up bottle after bottle. He's like, I can't stop once I've started. It stings.
I feel like I would be counted.
Here, hold this one.
If I ever got the desire to tour India, which would never happen, I feel like I would definitely be counted as an unbeliever standing in line for the piss temple.
No, I will not be drinking bovine.
No, I will not be drinking cow urine at your piss temple. In other news, Trump administration has moved medical marijuana to a Schedule III drug. You know what's interesting about this is this would have been huge news 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like the nation is becoming more sober, though. And I don't know if the decrease in drinking, because young people are not drinking. Alcohol manufacturers are really concerned about this. The younger generation is not drinking as much as the older generation did or is. And I don't know if they're smoking more pot or not as a trade-off. I don't know. But I also just kind of get this feeling that a lot of people are just are just wanting to be sober.
Yeah, there's a huge go sober movement, and I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. To where, I mean, for medicine and stuff like that, sure. I mean, I know there are medicinal purposes for marijuana. I totally get that. But it just struck me today. I mean, this 10 years ago would have been huge news. People would have been like, yes. And there are people that are celebrating this. Marijuana is now Schedule 3, not Schedule 1, right? Am I getting that right? You know more about the schedule of drugs than I do. Because you're in that industry. So what does Schedule 3 mean?
I'm in the marijuana industry.
No, but you're in the medical field, healthcare. You're in healthcare. So what does Schedule 3 mean versus Schedule 1?
It depends on it. It's more about the prescribing of it and what its addictive effects.
Okay. So Schedule 1, highly addictive, highly regulated.
Oxy, hydro. All
okay.
That
Schedule 3, they're saying not as addictive.
Right.
I got you. Well, anyway, I feel like it's less and less of an issue. But I also, Colorado has had terrible results. The edibles have had, going down, walking down the street and just, there are liberal places where the legalization of it has just really diminished the community feel. Not to mention people are doing it all the time and high all the time, but they're also like, it's the drug version of de-beautifying when you're walking down a public street and all you smell is marijuana. Right?
Well, the argument early in the beginning was like, we're not going to legalize it, we're going to decriminalize it, and then we're going to tax it really high.
When they're doing that.
So, these states can make actually a lot of money off of it instead of, people with guns watching it and guarding it. Now you've got hippies and just kids that want a job.
Yeah.
That can legally do it.
Yeah, who's going to pick our weed if we close the border? Here's the I should have put this with the Indian urine. You got to drink urine if you want to go to the temple. Here's a couple of white guys making. Here's a couple of. This is great. Here's a couple of white guys making Indian food on the street.
Where's Rob's watching? This is so good. Here we go. Watch this. The elbow drop.
Puts his foot up there. It's so gross.
See the ketchup box. Look, he's got a CD. That's what he's cutting it with, the CD.
Indian street food, ladies and gentlemen. Look at them afterwards. They act like look on their faces at the end. The look on their faces at the end is my favorite part. This look right here. I mean, that is a really good impersonation. Like, they're kind of put out that they had to do, like. Oh, that's so good. All right, another clip that is just a feel-good clip as well is this clip here, where there's this overweight basketball player in youth sports who
I haven't seen this one.
Okay, well, so let me set it up for you. He gets the ball and blows a kiss to the defender and then drains a 3. But it's what happens afterwards that I think is hilarious.
Okay.
All right, take a look at this. Tell me what you think. So if you want to celebrate, you got to check your weight class if you want to celebrate with that kid.
Yeah, no chest bumping.
But yeah, he does look at these. He blows the kiss. It's like he gets the ball and then just blows the kiss at the defender and then drains it. Oh man, that's good. I love that.
That's awesome.
All right, last story here. We're gonna go over to Tom Steyer. We're gonna go to the California governor's race.
I was gonna say this is the new California governor. Soon
So,
to be, right?
Yeah. Tom Steyer thinks wanting truck drivers to understand English is racist. The clip doesn't quite say that, but just listen. The story is, I think, about us. You know, the cops are stopping truck drivers for not being able to speak English and read road signs. So this is the kind of loaded question you get from the press.
Mr. Steyer, where do you draw the line on this? Should language proficiency for truckers be strictly enforced, even if it means that some of them will probably lose their jobs? You have 60 seconds.
Look, I agree with what was said, which is we don't know the context of this stop. But what I can say is this: racial profiling is illegal. And in fact, picking on people based on the color of their skin in the state of California is illegal.
So I actually agree with that headline. I actually agree with the headline. Tom Steyer thinks wanting truck drivers to the context of the question is pretty clear. Like, hey, we need to do something about this, and they're immediately going towards, you know, I mean, look.
What does his answer have to do with the question?
It has nothing to do with the question, and you know, racial profiling. Let's just think of, you know, when we think of racial profiling, we think of a cop is pulling somebody over because they're black. Okay. And, you know, we think that they or the cop, you know, thinks they have drugs, or the cop's going to plant drugs, or whatever. You know, I mean, like, there's all things or whatever. But, like, when we're talking about this migrant invasion, and they're now all truck drivers, and they're H-1Bs or whatever, and they don't speak English and can't read,
and they're killing people and driving on the wrong side of the road.
That's the thing. They are killing people. If you want to call me, if you want to call that racial profiling, I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't care. I don't care how you categorize it. If you're driving a truck wearing a turban, and you're not, following the law, or then you need to be, or you're at a way station. If you're at these way stations, check them on. If they can't speak English and if they can't read, get them
driving up the wrong side of the road on Highway 61, going up toward Hannibal, Missouri, like in the middle of the U.S. Absolutely.
Get them off of the road. And put them in cuffs if you have to. Deport these people. And go after the trucking companies. That's a whole other thing. You've got to go after these trucking companies
Shut them down.
That are doing this stuff, because it's incredible. Eric Haynes, man, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. God bless y'all.
Folks, I'm going to be here tomorrow. What's today? Thursday. I'll be here tomorrow. We'll be rocking it solo like we do on most Fridays. We're going to have a great show for you. Make sure that you don't miss it on LFA TV. If you're watching on YouTube, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Paul Harrell Program, as we're trying to grow that. And don't forget to like and subscribe to LFA TV on Rumble. We will see you guys tomorrow. God bless.